RBI Governor Shaktikanta today made a case for higher infrastructure spending, power sector reforms, trade deal with Western countries like EU, US and UK, along with policy interventions in the startup arena, as well as careful reforms in the agriculture space in a bid to get the Indian economy out of the COVID-induced stress. He was today, in fact, addressing a virtual conference that was hosted by industry body CII, where a lot of questions were also fielded to the RBI governor, questions ranging from a one-time restructuring scheme to what can be done for the manufacturing sector. But let me first take you through some of the key issues that the RBI governor today spoke about. Case in point being that he said that the COVID-19 theme is a compelling one. It has forced us to raise questions about when the COVID-19 curve will be flattened, when will we get that vaccine, spoke about protection of lives and livelihoods and the shape of the economic recovery. And even though those questions are still elusive, there is still a lot of uncertainty. One must focus on shifting and looking at where there are areas that the government can focus on in terms of policy interventions. He today highlighted 5 such areas. One of them, of course, is farm sector. He spoke about renewables. He spoke about what can be done for the ICT, or leveraging information and communication technologies, startups, as well as how India can now become a part of the global supply chain along with infrastructure sector. Let me first begin by talking about the infrastructure sector, because that is going to be a force multiplier for the Indian economy, and that is a big one to watch out for. Remember, a couple of days ago, the Economic Affairs Secretary Tarun Bajaj had also said that the Indian government is looking at pushing towards big infrastructure projects, even if we have to borrow more. The government is already reviewing capex, and the RBI governor once again alluded that the government must shift its focus towards targeted big infrastructure projects, even while he did talk about how there is a need to diversify the funding options for infrastructure lending. There is a lot of stress currently, a lot of NPA stress in the banking and the financial system on account of infrastructure projects. However, we must look at diversified options for infrastructure lending. Even though the infrastructure gap is very large, the RBI governor said that a lot needs to be done for the promotion of corporate bond markets and securitization based market solutions to address the problems of the stress sector. That, of course, is the big one in terms of what can be done for infrastructure push. Besides that, the RBI governor today said that it is important that the government is taking a lot of steps to double farmers' income, a lot of steps for farm sector as well. But India must now capitalize on farm sector reforms, where he said that a critical challenge for India will be the surplus management of food. So that is something that the RBI governor talked about. He also said that now the supply chain of the world is shifting, and India must be ready to undertake a greater strategic trade integration, and for which bilateral agreements or bilateral trade relationships with countries like EU, US and UK will be critical. Something that the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is already undertaking. We yet to get an early harvest deal with these nations. However, the work is at least on for India to be able to get some bit of a bilateral trade agreement that they can do with these nations. On the other hand, for renewables, the governor said that India is now supposed to move towards the next stage for production and manufacturing of solar panels. He also spoke in great detail about how power sector reforms are quite critical. He said that there is a need to undertake power sector reforms both at the central level as well as state level, and we need to reduce cross-subsidization in a big way. And lastly, for the startups, he did say that India needs now to reorient their policies, their resources towards a direction where we can propel our startups, because they will be the ones that will push growth, whether in terms of jobs or employment creation in the next or in the post-COVID scenario. So these are some of the issues, some of the takeaways that the RBI governor today talked about. Well, he did sidestep a question on one-time restructuring scheme. We at ET Now are given to understand that that could be in the offing, and we will hear from the RBI governor very soon on that.